Steven Soderbergh is largely known for his independent filmmaking, exploding in popularity with his film Sex, Lies, and Videotape in 1989, which spawned a whole new wave of independent filmmakers rising onto the scene. Soderbergh is a unique director, but his brand is nearly non-existent, with films from all kinds of genres and budgets, spanning over 30 directed films. He exists as this unidentifiable figure you could pass in a supermarket, who just so happens to make those Ocean's 11 movies we all love. To the average film enthusiast even, he's just that guy who made Sex, Lies, or Contagion, or Aaron Brockovich, or Magic Mike. Though he is far from the underground filmmaker he was in 1989, and was nominated for Best Director twice at the 73rd Oscars, winning for Traffic, he is still remarkably unknown. Soderbergh is often the singular authority in his films. He is a director who values authenticity over marketability and follows his creative urges through the path he makes in his filmmaking. He edits, photographs, and directs many of his films under aliases, with cinematography credits under the name of his father, Peter Andrews, editing credits to his mother's name, Marianne Bernard. It's almost a way of dodging this association of his creative outlook of his films. He prefers to remain out of the limelight. What Soderbergh is exceptional at through this creative domination and independent filmmaking is the openings of his films. Soderbergh's films have this magnetized pull. It's nothing short of the art of cinema as a medium. The multitude of ways it can immerse us into these fictional worlds for only a few hours. Films that make us feel like we have lived the lives of our characters or have traversed the same vast landscape that they have. Soderbergh is far from the only writer, director, editor to have their individual artistic vision, but through a handful of techniques that are unique to Soderbergh's own filmmaking style, all culminating in the opening of his films, he captures the audience's attention and intrigue immediately. This video will examine the openings of 3 of the director's films, spanning from the beginning of his filmography to more contemporary examples, ranging from impossibly expensive globe-trotting adventures to small, intimate moments on shoestring budgets. Here's how Soderbergh pulls you in. Sex, Lies, and Videotape opens with these sweeping shots of concrete accompanied by up-tempo acoustic guitar. You have no idea what you're looking at, aside from maybe discerning that it's a road that Graham is driving on. The music keeps ramping up until the movement of the pavement is slowed, which the music follows. The film then leaves you in the middle of the garbage conversation Anne is having with her therapist. This is undercut with Graham appearing to be continually on the move, only stopping in gas station bathrooms to groom himself. The film is priming you to look at people's conversations with one another, the way that the relationship between Anne and John is continually being tested by Graham's presence on screen. His mysterious nature, his down-to-earth qualities. This film is all about these conversations, about the intimate feelings people will do their best to repress, and which Graham and Anne bring out of each other by the end of the film, in a similar conversational nature. The film is priming the audience to pay attention to these conversations, about what might exist between the lines of their subconscious, what they really mean by the words that they say. The way that this is being done on a technical level is the idea of the opening being representative of the entire rest of the film, poetically foreshadowing the very end of it, where Graham can finally settle down and move away from his drifting lifestyle and fully be in conversation with Anne. These 2 characters are always seen seated across from each other, talking throughout the film, but by the end, this is when they are truly listening to each other. This is all spelled out from the very beginning. It's 2 people, extremely unlikely to be together, finding the common ground they do have, and finding a relationship that makes them both better off. Soderbergh's Che literally gives you a map. It shows you immediately what's at stake, what the battlefront looks like, with the green of the Cuban wilderness fading to a bright red, the bloodshed pouring over the soil. It immediately engages the audience with this journey to liberate the country from coast to coast. This feels like the next logical step above simple mapping scenes in film, where you follow the big red line going from one place to the next. This battle plan sets us up for this conquest, and in a film like Che, you need this investment as soon as possible. The film also has another, more formal introduction immediately following the map sequence, which employs one of Soderbergh's techniques used in many of his films, where he will play the audio before there is any video present. It catches the viewer off guard, and requires them to focus their attention to figuring out what they're listening to and what visuals will accompany it. It's as if Soderbergh is guiding you into walking into an unfamiliar dark room, searching for the light switch. It immediately engages the audience with this searching for information. This darkness has its own diegetic meaning within the film, that the interviewers are trying to get a sound check with Che. This introduction itself thematically begins to show his incompatibility and rejection of Western culture with the translator.
What if recent United States efforts to
The camera gives us pieces of his iconic identity. His well-worn, polished leather combat boots, his cigar, and the smoke burning from it. When we finally get his face in the frame, he's dominating the space, with his face covering the image with his intense, knowing gaze. This is all done to encapsulate the audience into this war, which is why the film is so easy to get invested in. We are traversing the entirety of Cuba within the immense runtime of the film. For Bubble, we are looking at an extremely stripped back film, one that is left with only the bare bones of Soderbergh's signature to observe. With this, we discern the main details that cannot be taken away in such a modest film. Let's look at the first thing we can observe in the film: soundtrack. The guitar melody that begins the film outright is strummed and continual. It feels happy with this naive quality to it, in that we don't really know where the chords are going, but we can pinpoint the overall idea behind it. The music being a singular guitar strumming pattern repeated over a series of chords is what makes it fit the film thematically. It likens to a single person just plucking along with no real idea of what the future chords are going to be, and remaining in a predictable strumming pattern, just like the aimlessness and predictability of the lives of the characters in the film. Another moment in the opening is a spotlight shown on Martha, a move I most associated with theater. It's as if she has been giving attention from some force beyond her control. Whether she knows it or not, she will be pulled into something bigger than herself. This is juxtaposed visually with a shot of an excavator digging a small hole, then immediately showing a graveyard in the small town near the Ohio River. The audience may not even be aware of what they're looking at, or what they're observing will even amount to, but subconsciously, the keen-eyed viewers are making a mental note of the understated foreshadowing. The ending of this film uses the guitar theme as well, but in a minor key, using this single line of musical dialogue to bring an entirely new, melancholic meaning to the guitar melody. The spotlight is used at the end of the film as well, as we find Martha thrown in prison for the killing with the smallest stakes ever. She has filled her role in the play, and the curtains will shortly fall. This again is making use of the setup, punchline, screenwriting Soderbergh uses in his films, that gives you the exact amount of information to get the curious viewer invested. The efficiency of these scenes for conveying information to the viewer is the combined use of techniques used in all of Soderbergh's films. This is demonstrated more clearly once we pull back the layers of glitz and glamour and budget he is more well known for, to unravel what truly makes an opening scene that piques curiosity for its viewers. Steven Soderbergh is the best kind of auteur filmmaker, the kind where if you dig into the behind-the-scenes footage, you can appreciate and get a better understanding of their process and intentions, but one who is simply the invisible person behind the films. This distance allows you not to get swept up in the vision of a director. You aren't thinking about Soderbergh while watching his films as much as other auteur filmmakers, which is what makes his films so unique. He employs all these innocuous choices in his films that all come together to build his own image throughout all of his films, and culminates into this complete body of work, where no matter what kind of film Soderbergh is making, no matter the scale, budget, or script, it is ultimately going to be a film that so effectively pulls us in.
Suddenly going to work tomorrow doesn't seem like such a good idea. What I want to say is, I want to thank anyone who spends part of their day creating. I don't care if it's a book, a film, a painting, a dance, a piece of theater, a piece of music. Anybody who spends part of their day sharing their experience with us, I think this world would be unlivable without art. And I thank you. That includes the Academy, that includes my fellow nominees here tonight. Thank you for inspiring me. Thank you.